Welcome, and welcome back, everybody, to the OK Grognard Show. Today is Wednesday, February 11th, 2026, 10 a.m. Central in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. And today I'm going to talk just a little bit about the books I use when I run my first edition D&D games, and how much I use them and why, and also 1E AD&D, what I use and use can Toose. Now that's a clever way to say it, isn't it? Hey, glad everyone's here. Hey, Vince is in the chat. Hey, Chatty Vince. There he is. He did something really nice for me this week. What did he do? Oh, he ate dice. Vince shows up at the store the other day and he goes, "Here, I got these for you." Dice. He got me the OK Grognard Show dice. They're just great. I've already passed a couple of them out to people who regularly check out the show. The first to him, because he got some for me. He didn't get anything for himself, because he's that kind of selfless individual. I got some books too, but sadly, this version of Beowulf and this version of Beowulf both come at a sad price in that they are not as described. I've already gotten a refund for them. They were very quick to do that. I don't think I'm going to, it's one of those big thrifty thrift on eBay places. But this, I never had a penguin Beowulf before, which seems surprising because, they're kind of the go-to for classics. And this Chickering one I had not read his commentary on it or his translation, so I wanted to check that out. But then pages missing in the one, and the other one is all trashed on the inside with writing. And you know what? When they say a book's acceptable and it's not in the best of shape, that's fine. When they say it's good and they say there's no damage and there's pages missing and they say there's no writing in the margins and then there's writing all over the inside of the... Yeah, that's not... So I complained about those two of the bunch, and it's buy two, get one kind of a dealio. Copy of the Mabinogion, and I didn't have a Penguin copy of this either, so it'll be good to be able to cross-reference some of this. And these were all super inexpensive, so there's not a lot of complaints. The Nibelungenlied. Siegfried and Brunhilde. So that's a classic. And you know what? I didn't have a Penguin copy of that either. So, lots of Penguin editions I saw in there, which is why I wanted to grab some of them. But you know what the real find was? A hardcover copy of Peter Ackroyd's retelling of Mallory's Le Mort d'Arthur, The Death of King Arthur, which I had not known that there was a version out there. And it's a hardcover copy, which, I thought all of these were going to be paperbacks, and at the prices I was getting them at, I thought, this is nothing. I'll just grab a few. If a couple are bad news, I'll ask for a refund, which they immediately gave me. All of that stuff. Not a dicey proposition at all. Dice. Thanks, Vince. I can't say enough about how kind Vince was to grab me some dice. What a sweetheart. Well, you know what? I'm going to quit embarrassing him and start talking about the AD&D books I use. So what are you, 5 minutes in already? That's crazy. 4 anyway. 5. So I use the core books. The top three, of course, at the table. I probably open all three of them almost every session at one point or another, almost every time I'm at the table. Don't always, sometimes it's just open the monster manual to double check an armor class, because most of them I know pretty well. Of course, player's handbook, you need to look up spells. You need to double check, especially if they're doing simultaneous initiative like I do is a possibility, and you want to know how fast a spell can be cast. What's the duration? You got to know all these things. What about range? What about area of effect? These are details that you want to be clear about. You want to be fair with the players. And of course, the Dungeon Master's Guide, it's got some errata, some adjustments to some of the spells. You want to know what those things are when they come up. And also, I very much like having wandering monsters, and I very much like having random treasures. And I think players have a lot of fun. Vince, back me up here on when they get to make some rolls to try to get a random treasure off a wandering monster. Because treasure's always good, and it's kind of fun when it's surprising and exciting, and you don't know what's going to be in there. And of course, Monster Manual 2 as well, and Fiend Folio. I get into those fairly often. Deities and Demigods less often, but I will say that as setting based as most of those deities are, and the demigods, of course, they're good templates for your own. And since I use my own pantheon, then it has helped to get a gauge on what those things are. So if you create your own setting, which I always have since 74, starting off with a little dungeon and a little town nearby for headquarters and for supplies, for the players. Yes, love the random treasures, says Vince. And there you go, testimonial. Consider it in stone. UA, Unearthed Arcana, how much of it do I use? Well, it's not guaranteed I'll use any of it in any leg of my campaign, with any group, I do allow magic users to research spells. That is to say, if they want a spell from UA, they can spend some time learning it or creating it within my setting. They're not inherently necessarily there, although I will throw some UA spells on scrolls to spice things up. It's a lot more fun for magic users to find some scrolls of spells they've never known or never thought they'd have access to, and clerics as well. So those are fun. And there are other things. I don't use the classes and stuff from Unearthed Arcana, and I'm not a fan of weapon specialization. I think it gets a little out of hand pretty quickly, so I don't use that. The two survival guides, Dungeoneers and the Wilderness survival guides, are, I think, incredibly useful for a DM to have read. They help you wrap your head around adjudicating rules at the table, of creating rulings, not rules, not relying necessarily on rules, but being able to come up with rulings on the fly for various things. If you understand the various subsystems that they've put in there, and there's a lot of stuff in both of those they get very deep into the weeds. If you're not careful, you don't want to be opening up that book and just thumbing through it at the table, because, screeching halt time for doing that. And so having read those and just kind of incorporated those into your thinking process as a DM is an excellent way to go. So those aren't table games. Those aren't those and the deities ones. I generally wouldn't consider those ones you need to bring every week to the table. The other 6, though, there's an argument for writing up a dungeon and not having any wandering monsters, or just having ones you already know and having a notebook, or having it all written and processed out in a way that allows you to not open a single book at the table. And isn't that great when you can do that? Keep everyone's attention. In any event, those are definitely things to know, things to use. That's what I use more. Now, I got into a discussion with my buddy Marty, as he signs in his own D&D books. I got Martin Thomas. He runs the Daddy Roller 1 YouTube channel, an excellent channel for old school thought and discussions. And he was surprised that I never had monks or assassins in my settings, that I don't allow them as PCs. I will admit to having NPCs that are assassins, but they're not the assassin class. They're just, killers for hire. But I don't use the actual class. And they just don't fit my setting. And mine's kind of a Dark Ages into Middle Ages, British Isles sort of setting with Western Europe. Really, there's some other things outside of where the current campaign is, but it's Anglo-Saxon. It's not Norman yet, but they're just off in the not too far a distance. Really, the analog for them. There are Viking types in the campaign, and there are others. So, there's definitely a lot of that influence there. And you know what? Monks in my campaign are cowled temple dwellers who make wine and copy books, and kind of that Western motif of monk. And assassins, certainly not for PCs, because they're evil. And as a DM, I just don't like the competition. I'll be honest. Evil is my domain. Evil is where I swing my bat. That's not for says Negan, right? That's not for the players to. I like team players. I like non-evil team players who can exist as a group, not a hassle of loners forced together to adventure. No. They're willing adventurers, willingly part of a group. I don't want to run 6 different games when I'm running one table. So that's my thing. And if I'm not enjoying myself, well, I'm not going to be running a game, because, it's a lot of work. And I hope everyone has a good time at my table. But that includes me. So I got to come first, because that's where it all starts. It flows downhill, downstream. And if I'm not enjoying myself, nobody else is going to be. Anyway, those are the books I mainly use. Those are the books I really use. Those are the books I know. These are the Daves I know. Can you get them somewhere? Yeah. You can go over to Drive Thru RPG and get them as PDFs. These are the covers for what they look like over there, right? So those are the covers of the books I'm familiar with. But these are the same books. So when you see them on Drive Thru RPG, don't be surprised. if they have a different cover in the case of these PDFs of the reprints. Otherwise, these other covers you'll see over there. And you know what? There's a bunch of others. What are they? They are all setting books. I mean, even the planes ones, right, are really about setting. And I don't do a lot of plane stuff. I have little pocket planes here and there, but I don't have vast sweeping planes that people can jump from plane to plane to planes. And in my setting, it's not something I ever felt like I wanted to keep track of. I don't run Greyhawk. I don't run Forgotten Realms. I don't run Oriental Adventures. I don't run any of the other settings, so I don't need any of these books, and never did, never got them. If you like the settings, of course, use them. Save yourself some work. A lot of these are time-tested, and people have used them for years. Oops, that's not what I want to do. That's what I want to do over there. Let's pop that off. Let's get back to that. So there we go. I've rattled on for a little over 15. Let's shut her down now. If you have any specific questions about what I do beyond what I've described and what I use and how I use it, definitely leave a comment in the comments section of the YouTube video. This will be archived over there within the hour when I'm done doing it here. That's what I do, archive it over there. Here on Twitch, I just do the live feed, and then hope you've enjoyed it. So there we go. That's all we got to say. Thanks again for the dice, Vince. Really appreciate it, and I appreciate you being here in the chat. It's very kind of you. This has been a discussion of First Edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, what I use, and use can Toose. So there you go. We've said it all. Don't forget, the show streams live on Twitch each Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central, and then it's archived on YouTube. Like, subscribe, follow, do all that stuff for me. I'd very much appreciate it. And, what's going on with that? There it is. And you can support the channel even at the free level on my Patreon. That would be appreciated. Join such illustrious others as Tom Tullis of Fat Dragon Games, Carlos Lysing of Castle Entertainment, Heath Farndon of the AD&D 20, Dave O'Brien, Unauthorized User, Dethangel Shadow, Heidi and Eric, Gygax Garland of Gaxland, Vince Ragusa from the chat of the Maroon Room, an excellent prog rock band, Daniel Caldwell of Griffin and Gargoyle, Martin Thomas of Daddy Rolled a One, a great YouTube channel, Christian Garcia, Stephanie Lesniewski-Gruchow, Cera Toppilopkus, Colin Szablewski, Sergeant Zeno, Bruiser, Nate Moser, Rod Garcia, John Smith, and as always, Shane Bradley, DM Extraordinaire. This has been the OK Grognard Show from beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Bye-bye.